with what we actually came for tonight. So the first thing we'll do is we'll follow on from that sort of chip shot that we played over the bunker, which is similar to the bunker shot that we're going to play today. So the first thing is, what club do we use? Something with a bit of loft. So I would always recommend 55 degrees upwards. Now, accompanied with that, you would also like to have the bounce. Now, we've spoken about the bounce before.
We've lost your voice.
You're gone. Andrew, there's no sound. Your leader has cut you off.
Are we back in again?
Yes.
Right, okay.
You are now. You have to start again.
Oh, don't say that. How far did I get?
You're just about measuring up the bounce with the.
Oh,
with
that's
the...
all right. You can remember it from last time.
Can I?
Okay, right. Quick one. Okay, I don't know what happened there. I think Gareth maybe pressed the wrong button. Okay, so the bounce is simple to explain. The back edge of the sole of the club will always sit higher than the leading edge. Now, that will differ from club to club or from manufacturer. I would always recommend to have between 8 to maybe 12 degrees of bounce on the sole. Don't go for an iron that's too wide as well. There's different sort of manufacturers that do wide and narrow soles. Get something in the middle so you can use it for any type of shot. Right, so going back to how to play the shot. We're in the bunker and we point the club where we would like the ball to go. In an exceptionally deep bunker, we can open the face a little bit, but generally speaking, 56 degrees, 58 degrees is more than enough to get the ball out of the bunker. So we grip the club as we normally do, and we must position the ball inside the left heel. Now, the reason we do that is to get elevation on the shot. So by getting it forward in your stance, that's going to help you lift the ball. When you set up to the ball, have your feet slightly open in relation to the target. So if you imagine, that's my target line, slightly exaggerating, my feet are going to the left of the target. So the ball's inside my left heel, and my feet are pointing left. How much I open up can sometimes depend on how much height I want to create from the shot. So the more I'm open, the more I'm going to be working the club across the ball. So once we've done that, we set up to the ball and we do the wiggle. Now, to do the wiggle, I want you to lift your heels up, wiggle, 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 drop your heels in and wiggle again. Now that wiggle is going to do 3 things for you. 1, you're going to get a good foundation, good grip. The second thing is you're going to feel what's the texture of the sand is like. Is it hard? Is it soft? Then the last thing is, if that's the ball and that's my feet, if I wiggle my feet now are below the level of the ball. So I don't have to dig at it because I've already lowered myself in relation to the ball. The last thing we do is we set roughly about 60% of my body weight on my left leg. Yeah. So 60-40 ratio. Now, when I swing the club back, this is important. So there's my feet going left. There's my target line. When I swing the club back, take the club on the line of your feet. Do not take it on the line of the target. And the reason for that is simple. As I take it back on the line of my feet, you'll see that the toe will start to point to the sky. If I take it back on the line of the target, you'll see that the face is shutting down. And the minute I do that and I shut the face down, I've lost the loft. Oh, sorry, I've lost the bounce and possibly the loft as well. So instead of being able to slide the club through the sand, I'm now going to dig it that way. So it's important that I take it in that direction on the line of my feet. So I set up, I grip it, put the ball inside the left heel, put a little bit of more weight on my left side of my body, take the club back. And because I've got more weight on my left side of my body, the club will hinge a little bit earlier. As a result, your angle of attack into the ball will be slightly steeper. And as a result from that, roughly about 1 inch to 2 inches behind the ball and through. You then pop it and off she goes. Now it's very difficult to illustrate that in the room, but I've got some footage here of somebody that you may recognize. And very sad to say, I don't think we'll see him again either. That injury sounds quite horrific. So the man on the right-hand side is Podrick Harrington. So you can see straight away where he's setting up. He's leaning towards the left side of his body. The ball position is definitely where we'd like it to be, inside the left heel. You can see with Tiger Woods here, he's got the face really open on this shot here, and he's got his feet going very much, whoops, going left. Now, as we sort of make the swing, you'll see that the club will hinge very early. There you go. Now, the key thing is he will accelerate. He keeps very still over it, and he just slides it through the sand. And you can see he's not taking a massive divot. He's just sliding the club through the sand. And notice how the face of the club is actually pointing up to the sky at this point here as well. So he's maintained the loft through impact. Again, going back to Tiger, you can see how we spoke about the face, the toe pointing to the sky. You can see that very clearly. As you continue going up, down, you can see how he just slides the club through the sand. And you'll be surprised how much speed you can create with this. And that partly will give you some of the backspin as well. So it's pretty straightforward. I believe a good bunker shot is normally down to your setup as well. The execution side of it, I think, is pretty simple. As long as you don't try and dig at it or try and lift it, keep your body weight on your left side and just slide the club through. Right, so I've just realized what I've done, and did I share that screen with you people? I hope so.
Yes.
All right. Sorry. Thanks for that. I just thought I didn't click the screen. Sorry. Okay. So if we go back and I go back onto the screen, one of the things that we're going to encounter when we come back is wet sand. Now, we're very privileged at Formby that normally the bunkers are actually pretty good. But you will come across some that are actually down at the bottom there where it's still quite wet, that the sand will be raked, but it's quite firm underneath. But you've got to try and get it out. Now, if in that scenario there, if you use the bounce, the likelihood is you're not going to be able to get the club under the ball. So what I would suggest that you try is instead of having the club face square, just toe it in a little bit. Yeah, just toe it in a little bit. Do everything else the same. Set the ball up, toe it in a little bit. Now you may think because it's now toed in a little bit, the ball's going to go left. that won't happen, because as the club strikes the sand, the toe will hit the sand first and it will open the face up a little bit. But what it does, it allows you to just dig a little bit, not you physically going down and digging, you're allowing the club to dig. So tone it in, toe hits the sand first, opens the face, and you can drive the club through. The only thing that you must remember is that the ball is going to come out a lot lower than you're used to. So if it's a really, really steep face, you may have to look at your other options, backwards or sideways, but I would definitely always have a go. And then when you do make contact, the ball will actually come out lower and it's going to run more. So try and factor that in as well. So wet sand, toe it in a little bit, hit the shot as you normally would, but just allow for the ball to come out lower and running more. Right, is there any questions about sort of greenside bunkers or wet sand?
I always find trouble getting through the sand, Andrew, whether we're digging in too much, but you know, it's getting through like those pictures. The club comes up and it's pointing up. It's not, I don't find that as easy to do.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you could find that you're doing is you could be moving. So as you're moving, you're changing that impact point. You've moved it back. So as you move forward, the club will release earlier and you're presenting that sort of leading edge more than the bottom. So consequently, you're just digging down and you find it difficult to follow through because all the energy's gone down into the sand instead of just gliding through the sand. Just try next time you're in the bunker, stand on one leg, yeah, and just play a bunker shot and see if you can get the ball out of the sand. And if you find that you're actually falling forward, there's a good chance that you're actually moving. Try it. Okay.
Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes.
My question is sort of the same as Neelan's.
Yeah.
I don't tend to have problems with bunker shots when we've got sand in the bunkers. But very often, despite what you said about how lucky we are with ours, the sand is blown out, they've been wet, and it's like it's hard packed underneath. Yeah. And as Neelan said, you just can't get a club through it.
Yeah.
And it's not a case of getting the toe in first in those circumstances. It's just like playing a ball off a hard surface, but you've got an elevation to get over in front, and I found that difficult.
Okay. It's exactly the same technique that we spoke about earlier. And when we're open, if we've got a wet bunker, I would be more than happy to come and show you on the golf course that just by towing it in and doing that, I promise you'll get the ball out first.
Yeah, but it's not when it's wet. It's when it's been wet, there's no sand, and it's been muddy, but it's just solid. It's hard. It's like concrete.
It's exactly the same. I promise you. Toe in slightly, and you're probably maybe moving a little bit. It will come out. It will come out. Try it. There's no sort of magic cure to that, but that's one of the ways it'll definitely work. Okay. So let's talk about fairway bunkers, bunkers that on the fairway. So the first thing is you've got 200 yards to go, and it doesn't really matter. You've got your 200-yard club. If the lip is too high, you can't use it. So the first thing is you've got to assess what club I could use to get out of the bunker, to get over that lip. So in that case, I've taken sort of a 7-iron and I think I can get over it. So the first thing I do is I shorten the club, just choke down on it a little bit, yeah? Play the ball forward in your stance and do a little wiggle, not a massive wiggle. All you want to do is just get a little bit of grip. You don't want to lower yourself too much because that could cause you to dig it. Now, you'll like this one. Strangle the golf club, hold it really tight. Now, the reason I want you to hold it tight is we want to minimize that sort of wrist action, picking the club up too early. hover the club above the ball, hold it very tight, and because you've got it forward in your stance, you should be able to just pick it up off the top. Again, I've got some footage that we did, so we'll have a look there. All right, here we go. So you can see I've got the ball forward in my stance and I'm hovering the iron above the ball. And what I forgot to say was, look at the top of the ball. Don't look behind the ball. Focus your eyesight right on top of the ball. Swing the club back using your arms. You'll move a little bit of weight. Keep still and move through with your arms again. And the idea being is that you just want to try and nip it off the top of the bunker. But make sure that you, first of all, you use enough loft to get out of the bunker. Otherwise, I'm afraid you will be still in the bunker. Right. Moving on. Right. What we've now chosen is an uphill lie. So an uphill lie is basically when the left foot is above the ball. So we've got a little bit of DIY here. So the first thing is, when we play from an uphill lie, the ball is going to go higher. So we're going to lose distance. So if you were using a 7-iron, maybe drop down to maybe a 6 or a 5-iron to compensate for that upward movement. When you set up to the ball, you've got to sort your spine out. You've got to try and get it perpendicular and your shoulders parallel. When you aim, you've got to aim to the right, because the ball will have a tendency to move from right to left. And the reason for that is because your left foot is higher than your right foot, it is difficult to get your weight moving up the hill. So the problem, what happens is your hands get a little bit quicker, and that's why the ball will turn over. So spine, weight, shoulders, aim further right, and then hit the shot, okay? And the ball will move from right to left. So again, going back to what I did earlier. There we go. Swing the golf club. You can see very clearly what I've done with my shoulders in relation to the ground, because my left foot is higher. And as I'm swinging the club, I'm trying to swing along the slope. Oh dear, what's happened? That's it. And I'm trying to swing along the slope. There we go. Yeah. But always remember, the ball will go from right to left. So ball towards the higher foot, tilt the shoulders, and swing the club along the slope and take a little bit more club. Now the opposite is a downhill lie. If I'm playing that way down the hill, I would take more club, more loft, because I'm going to be going that way down onto the ball because of the slope. So if it was a 7-iron, maybe think of an 8-iron or maybe a 9-iron. Play the ball towards the higher foot. Sort your spine out. Sort your shoulders out. And then from there, you've got to aim left because the ball is going to move to the right. So as you hit the shot, the ball will move off to the right. And the reason for that is when we swing in, the club is more vertical because of that foot there. So again, I've got a video clip of that. Because my right foot is higher than my left foot, you'll see very clearly there we go. It's not that one. Yeah. Club will go up a lot more sort of steeper. And again, you want to swing down the line of the hill. So it's all about sort of keeping your balance as well and making sure that you stay down on it. Okay. Right. Any questions about those two shots there? Uphill and downhill. Did it make sense about sort of the club selection? Taking more club, taking less club.
You wouldn't aim
Okay.
out to the, you wouldn't aim out to the right if you were uphill, or you wouldn't aim to the left if you were downhill, no? To
No,
counteract
no, here we go. So downhill, what's the ball going to do? It's going to curve to the right. So you've got to aim left to allow for that curvature. If it's uphill, you aim to the right because the ball's going to move to the left. Yeah? So higher foot, ball towards the higher foot, aim to the right. Higher foot, ball more towards the back foot, and the ball will have a tendency to go left to right. Yeah? And the reason for that is because you get steeper because of that right foot being higher than the left. The opposite is if you're here, you can't get your weight up the hill and your hands just want to flick over. Yep. Okay. Right. Ball above the feet. So, how did I do this last time? Right, we're now in a situation where the ball is above the feet. So the ball will have a tendency to draw, won't it? So we've got to aim right for allow the ball to move. First thing we do, shorten the club a little bit. That will get you naturally a little bit closer. And because the ball's up here, the swing will be a little bit flatter. So as a result, that's where that shape comes from. Yeah. Keep still, and then basically move your weight, swing a little bit more around yourself. Yeah. So by having the ball above your feet, you're always going to have that tendency for the ball to move left. And then the opposite would be the other way around. So if I move that, this one's a little bit more difficult. Right, there we go. Try and hold the club as much as you can towards the end. And you're going to have to sit down a little bit, more flex in the legs. And then again, it's all about your balance from there again. Yeah. So keep your shape and remember where you got to start the ball off. Because the ball is below your feet, the ball will have a tendency to curve to the right. So again, just aim a little bit left and don't fight it and just allow it to happen. Right. Is there any questions about ball above, ball below? Excuse me. No? Okay.
Andrew,
Yeah.
for if the ball's above your feet or below your feet, Do you set the actual head of the club any differently behind the ball?
Okay, right. Let's get the so downhill. And are you making reference to sort of the ball as in,
above or below your feet? Because if it's above your feet, there's going to be a tendency for the hosel to be resting first, isn't there?
correct? So that's partly, so you got two reasons what's going to happen there. So if we just blow that one up there. Oops. So one, you can see clearly there, I've shortened the club. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the grip is visible. Now, because it's so high up, the plane is going to be a little bit more sort of around the body. And in severe cases, as you've mentioned, Doc, you're going to land up sort of catching the heel of the club in the ground first before the ball. So you're going to get even more movement. So imagine that being sort of long grass, ball above your feet, and it's going to go super left. That's where you see some sort of horrible shots where the ball just won't even sort of come out of the actual sort of, it won't even flight. It just goes smothered straight left. So again, ball above your feet there, keep your balance and clip it off the top. But if you know that the ball's
the
gonna...
thick grass, Andrew, like on the 7th where you on the right hand side and the ball's way above you and you're only like a sand wedge or something from the green, but you're exaggerating the loft, aren't you?
Yeah, what's going to happen, because are you talking about on the 7th where you basically you've got the club on the side of the mound there? Yeah. It's as long as you sort of aim further right. If you aim further right and you know it's going to be a little bit more of a baseball swing, and as long as you don't try and hit it too hard, so maybe take a little bit more club as well, and then choke down on it. But as soon as you try and hit it hard, the likelihood is you're going to move into the shot. So nice and smooth, and just basically just swing around yourself, and it's quite easy, really. But again, that's just experience talking there. It's not that easy. It's actually quite hard. That's why we brought it up tonight. Okay, so we've done sort of ball above, ball below, uphill, downhill. Now there's
Andrew?
just, yes.
I shank the ball when the ball is below my feet.
Okay, well, that's easy to explain. What's happened? That's a nice one. So what do you think's happened?
Well, that's why I'm asking.
Okay, all right, perfect. So the first thing is, when you address the ball, well, when you started off,
yeah,
the ball was here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In the middle of the face.
Okay, yeah.
So when you've come to hit it, you've now presented it there, haven't you? Out the corner.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you've basically done is you've lost your balance. So when you've set up to the ball's further down there. So if you put the wedge here.
Yeah.
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 I'll shank one for you now. So basically what happens is you go back, you go through, and you either catch the ground or you fall that far forward. You've moved the club from that position there to there, and you will definitely shank it.
How do you prevent the loss of balance?
Right. It's all about maybe setting yourself up and maybe just flexing the legs a little bit more.
Okay.
Just sitting back into the slope and just nice strong core. It's about just keeping your balance.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you normally find that you shank it as well because you've made a full swing as well?
Possibly overswing, yes.
Yeah. So take a little bit more club and don't try and hit it too hard, because if you hit it too hard, you're always going to lose your balance and you're going to fall forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little bit more club. Think about your balance and just swing through without sort of all you've done is you've done that.
Oh,
As
right,
you do
okay.
that, the club then goes further forward, and it definitely will shank.
We have a couple of shots saved then. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. Any questions? Okay. Excuse me. Right. Couple of little things just to think about. We'll talk about the overswing. You know, somebody that just gets it a little bit too far over the top, gets a bit long. What could be the cause of that? Well, the first thing it could be is a weak grip. Now, what I mean by a weak grip is position in relation to the face. Your hands are very much down that left-hand side of the club. It's very weak that way. And you could be holding it very soft in your hands, too loose. So a better grip and better grip pressure. I always say both hands about the same, roughly about, if you imagine sort of 8 or 9 as you're cutting the circulation off your fingers, 3, the club is a bit too loose. Go for maybe sort of a 4 or a 5, because as you engage the muscles, your grip pressure will automatically get a little bit tighter. It could also be you've got the ball too far back in your stance. When it's too far back in your stance, you swing back, you get too long. So check your ball position. Make sure that's in the right place. When you're addressing the ball, I always feel that we should have the butt of the club pointing to the middle of the left groin in the address. You could be a little bit with your hands maybe in line with the ball or slightly behind the ball. That can lead to an overswing as well. Bad posture, very rounded in your spine. Instead of nice and tall, bum out, chest forward, arms hanging, could be a little bit curved. Again, that's going to make you collapse and put it into yourself. When you swing your arms back, you could be picking the club up too early. If you pick the club up and then you do the shoulder turn, you'll definitely get too long. So there's lots of little things that can make you overswing. And the last thing is, when you're turning, you could be excessively lifting this left heel up, which is causing you to get too much rotation with your body. And as a result, you go too far back. Right, fluffing or fatting a chip or a shot, hitting a bad shot, hitting it fat. 1, when you're gripping the club, it could be too loose. That can make you too wristy. So just check your grip pressure. Make sure that you're not holding it too tight. When you're setting up to the ball, you could have the ball too far forward. That will then cause you to release the club too early. So again, if you're hitting fat shots, check your ball position. Hands too far behind in the address again. Go back, butt of the club, middle of the left groin. Keep the hands there. And then the last thing is basically, you could be casting the club, which is basically you're starting the swing on the way down in the wrong sequence. So when you get to the top, I always feel move the weight, keep turning the body. You've probably started the swing just with your arms, and as a result, you're not turning your body, there's no room, and you'll end up just hitting the ground. So from there, we move on to topping the ball. I get on the tee and I top it. Now, the obvious thing it could be is tension in the forearms. I'm a bit nervous, everybody's watching. So 1, nice and loose on your grip. Go back to a number 4 or a number 5, yeah? Your ball position could be too far forward or it could be too far back. So again, fundamental stuff. Check that you have got the ball in the right place for the club that you're deciding to hit. When you're starting the swing, instead of starting it from the bottom up and turning and then allowing the hips to turn, you could be starting it by moving your hips this way. So as you move laterally, you're then stuck behind the golf ball again. So make sure you start it in the right sequence and you feel that you turn and then you twist back and you hit it. Again, as you sort of start sort of hitting that shot, you always want to feel that it's very much turning to hit the ball, not throwing. Yeah? Right. Now, the last thing that I've thought would be quite important, they were talking about speed. How can I hit it further? Now, it's quite interesting. I've got this wonderful room at Formby, and we're able to measure the club head. We're able to measure the ball speed and so on. Now, you'd be surprised when we look at this sort of bottom figure here, that's sort of your club speed and your ball speed, that you can get somebody that really swings it quite fast, but the ball doesn't go very far. And that's quite simple to explain. He's swinging it that quick, he's not even hitting it out the middle of the face. So speed, yes, that's important, but I think hitting it out the middle of the face is more important. Now, some people are not able to sort of guess or where did it come out of? Now, I like this stuff. This is basically athlete's foot spray. And what you do is you just spray a little bit on the face, let it dry, go to a powder, and then go ahead and hit a shot. And then the idea being is that you'll get feedback. Where did I strike it out of the face? So I set up, go ahead and hit the ball. I think that was a little bit on the bottom. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Don't know if you can see it very clearly there, but the mark was a little bit out there. So by finding the middle of the face, middle to top, I would always recommend, not down at the bottom. That will give you a decent launch on the ball and the right amount of spin. So yes, swing fast, but if you can't keep your balance, that doesn't help either. So how can I increase my ball speed? A couple of things you can try. Right, we're talking about the driver at the moment. And I don't know if you were able to watch Philip Price, and he made reference to 5 degrees down or 5 degrees up. There was like, well, I think he said it was something like 20 yards or 25 yards difference between the two. And what he was making reference to was really the angle of attack on the ball. It's always recommended that we always hit up. Up, it's always going to go further. So to encourage that upward hit, we position the ball inside that left heel. When we start the swing, keep the head centered and try and get your arms as far as you can away from your body. In doing so, you'll make a nice big shoulder turn. And as you make that shoulder turn, allow the weight to go over to this right side. Now from there, it's all about turning your hips back onto the ball and using your lower half of your body to drive through and hit it. The temptation is when you want to hit it hard or when you want to increase the speed, you forget about your lower half and you throw your arms at it, and that leads to a big, massive slice, which we talked about last time. So get the ball forward, keep it low and long, turn the body, weight behind and through. And most importantly, when you finish the strike, feel the weight on your left side when you finish and don't fall over. It's all about balance as well. That wasn't that good. 250 yards, that one was. Right, how are we doing for time? Not too bad. Right, any questions, people?
Andrew, can I ask you a question?
Please.
Yeah, going back to the bunker shot, I mean, your description was terrific.
Okay.
I may have missed, I don't think you said anything about where the club enters the sand and the different types of sand.
Okay. Roughly, okay, if we talk right in the height of the summer when it's nice and dry and it's fluffy, roughly about, it depends also how much bounce you have on your club, but I would say between 2 to maybe 3 inches tops. Because if you go too far behind the ball, by the time it reaches the ball, it's lost its energy, and the likelihood is the ball's not going to fly out of the bunker. Again, you don't want to get it too close either. So I'd probably say roughly about 2 to 3 inches tops. But the key thing with bunkers is don't be shy to accelerate the club. Too many people are worried about it going too far, so they make a big swing and then they stop. Really feel they accelerate and throw the club over your shoulder. Really feel that you throw it over your shoulder. Ball inside your left heel, weight on your left side, big swing, accelerate. And roughly about 2
and
to 3
when the
inches
sand,
tops.
when the sand is heavy or thin,
Okay. Again, this is something I'll have to sort of demonstrate to you when you're here next, when we're back open again. You won't be that aggressive with it, because if you get it wrong, you're going to land up plugging the ball into the face. But again, you just toe it in and you just follow the same procedure. And because the club is towed in, it's going to go down more into the sand, and it's going to slow down very quickly. So you probably find this will be your bunker shot from sort of sticky, wet sand, where you stop here. But the beauty is, if you've done it roughly about 1 inch to 2 inches behind, you've got enough of that club under the ball to lift it. Try towing it in just marginally, and it's a little bit more of a, if I can explain, a little bit more of a jab, but you'll be surprised. It will pop, and it will run forward. You won't get any spin on the ball.
so you're saying that the distance behind the ball is the same for all bunker shots?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not there are coaches out there that sort of say, take more, take less, depending on the distance you want to hit the shot. I prefer to keep it a little bit more simple. If you want to hit the ball further from a bunker shot, we need more speed. If we need more speed, it's a longer swing. That scenario of taking maybe a little bit less sand and more sand, it's very dangerous. That you have to be very skilled to do that. And all we want to do is get out of the bunker and carry on with our game.
Thank you.
Okay.
Andrew,
Captain.
plugged open or closed face?
Pardon?
Plugged lie, open or closed face?
Oh, definitely closed. Definitely closed. Right. So, plug ball in the bunker. It's a pity we can't really demonstrate it, but what have we got? Right. So, plug ball in. So the first thing is go for the most loft that you got in your bag. If you've got a 56 and that's your highest, that's it. But if you've got a 60, go for a 60. Set it up, tow it in. Now, if it's really deep, you can tow it in quite a lot. You'll be surprised. Then from there, you can bring the ball back just a little bit. Instead of it being here, bring it back maybe a couple of inches. And it's a little bit more, your weight's set on your left side. You've buried your feet, as you said, and really hit hard. Because what you've got to try and do is get this club under the ball. But by towing it in, I promise it will make the club dig. All you got to remember is it's just going to come out a little bit lower and it's going to come out a lot faster. But you will get under the club, under the ball.
And Andrew, would you take more sand in those circumstances?
No, definitely not. Just roughly just roughly about 1 inch to 2 inches again. Because
really still, even when the club's very close, because doesn't the weight of the sand open the face up?
It does, yes. It does. And that's what you're hoping it does, because
yeah, of course.
But the first part of the shot, the club has to get underneath the ball. So if you take more sand or less sand, you're making that sort of judgment call of how the club's going to go in a lot more difficult. So I always say try and keep that scenario very simple. Don't try and sort of complicate it by saying more or less sand. Roughly, sort of, we're talking about a plug ball about 2 inches tops, a normal bunker shot with a dry sand 2 to 3 inches. So you're playing with 1 inch to maybe 3 inches at the very most. Yeah, the very most.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Could I just go back to my earlier thing? When there's no sand in the bottom, when it's just hard packed,
Yeah.
and you're saying to still tow it in, would you sometimes just try and play a normal chip shot and not treat it like a bunker?
You could do. You
If
definitely
there's
could
no
do.
sand at all in the bottom.
Okay, but your problem that you may have is getting elevation. If it's hard, if you've got a bunker that's at least 6 or 7 foot, you're not going to chip anything that high to get it over. So you're going to have to first drive the club. Depends how deep the face is. I mean, that's the beauty of this game. You can make that call or how you see it. If it's a shallow face and it's not sort of too deep, then you can definitely try and sort of chip it off the top of the surface. But I don't think there's many bunkers here at Formby that will allow you to do that, really. But you can try it.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. I was expecting a few more questions tonight.
Hi Andrew, can I just say, if I drag a drive left, what am I doing wrong?
Is it just going straight left?
Straight left.
It's just a
Like-
pull.
Hoiking it left, yeah.
Okay. So that's the direction you want it to go. You're going in that direction. So the likelihood is you are coming a little bit over the top of the ball. Yeah, out to in. But the difference is your club face in relation to the target is slightly closed, but in relation to the path, it is square. That's why it's going straight left. So it sounds like a little bit of out to in with the club face being sort of square. So again, what you can do is put something on the outside when you're on the range and feel that you're swinging a little bit more inside that golf ball instead of outside that golf ball. I think initially what you'll find when you do that, you'll hit it straighter initially, but then it will curve at the end because you're not used to releasing the club head. So again, that'll just take a little bit of practice. So it's mainly, I think it's a path issue with you, out to in, but with the club face being square to the path.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you.
All right. Right. Okay.
Andrew,
Yes.
one more question.
Yes, please.
I played a course where there was every bunker was about 6 inches deep in very, very soft sand.
Yeah.
Whenever I got into those bunkers, I struggled to get out.
Right.
How could I improve it if I ever come across it again? Occasionally, 1 or 2 Formby bunkers in the height of summer are very deep, but not that deep usually. You can usually use the bounce.
Yeah, what normally happens with something like that, they've just refreshed the sand in the bunkers and it hasn't settled yet because it takes time with a bit of rain
right,
and
okay.
people going in. So it's all very fluffy. So you'd play it exactly the same. Everything's the same, but just be careful how much you bury your feet. If you go
Right.
to town with this and you really bury your feet, you're going to lower yourself too excessively down
Yeah.
into it. So it's
Okay.
just a question of maybe not wiggling as much.
Yeah.
And then focusing where I want to hit the sand and don't
Yeah.
sort of try and dig it because you
No.
know what's going to happen because it's so soft. Your club's just going to go down and down and down. And as
Yeah.
a result, you'll end up sort of frogging the ball and it's still in the bunker.
Yeah.
So watch that you don't excessively bury your feet and just focus on the where you want to hit the sand. And again, that imagery that I showed you of Tiger Woods or
Yeah.
Patrick Harrington is always a great image to have in your mind, because
Yeah.
yeah, you can see very clearly it's quite soft, the sand there as well,
Yeah.
and he's just sliding it. He's not digging it.
I can assure you it was softer than that.
All right, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The
okay.
bounce didn't work.
What bounce have you got on your sand iron?
I think it's about 52, 54.
Well, that's not a sand iron. That's the wrong club. And plus,
Well, I'm calling the wrong degrees then, because it is a sand iron.
all right, let me have a little look at it, because
Okay. It's a pink sand iron.
yeah, we could probably maybe do with giving you a better sand iron. Let's have a little look at it. And plus, you've got
Okay.
loads of credit on your account.
I know I have.
Yeah, just seen it on the app.
Yeah, and I was looking. I was looking at the irons as well.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Sometimes a tool will actually help you a little bit. The right tool, should I say?
It's only been one course, but I didn't really know how to cope with it.
Yeah, you could have been just getting a little bit too excited, digging yourself in and throwing the club down into the sand instead of just sweeping it off the top.
I'm sure by the third bunker, I was very excited.
Not another one. Okay, good. Right, gentlemen. Any other questions?
Just a basic one, Andrew.
Yeah.
How do we decide what ball is best for us?
Okay, what ball is best for you? So the first question is, let's take it from the putting green going back. When you putt, do you like the feel of something that feels hard and you get a sound that goes ting, or do you prefer a putty feel?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one where you start sort of looking at. If I prefer something that's very hard and it comes off the face quick, or it feels a bit soft.
Yeah.
And then you progressively go back from that. But generally speaking, you can sometimes match it up with your club head speed as well. So we are going to try and set up, if things allow us, where we're going to get a company down to do a golf ball fitting day. And basically what they do is they actually look at your swing speed and they try and sort of match a golf ball in with that. So if you don't hit it very hard, I would certainly not recommend going for a golf ball that is too hard, because it's not a great sensation when you hit it. You used to talk about sort of different compressions many moons ago, where if you swung it slowly, you needed a softer compression, or if you were fast, you would need a higher compression. Those days are gone now. It's all about sort of spin numbers. If you're swinging it very slow and you've got a ball that's sort of not spinning enough, you can actually mix and match. So it's a question of sort of trying, but three balls I'd always get you to try is Strixon Soft Feel, Callaway Chrome Soft, and Strixon AD333. They're all budget balls. Now, the best ball on the market, we all know, is the Pro V, and that seems to but it's not a cheap golf ball. But again, you enjoy the game, why not treat yourself?
I suppose it's best to take advice from you, really.
Yeah, but it's a question of actually coming in here, and we can actually sort of look at the numbers as well, because we can match it up with your driver. So you can see down at the bottom here where there are variations that if I sort of hit a Callaway Super Soft, the spin that I would get on there would be through the roof, and I wouldn't like that, and I certainly wouldn't like that sensation of hitting a putty ball when I'm sort of hitting the ball. I'd go for something in the middle personally, but it's just trial and error and what you like as well. But they tend to go down the path. If you're not swinging it too fast, go for a slightly softer compression ball. It's all about feel as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, I think I rushed through everything tonight. Sorry, guys. So, great. So, thank you very much for all attending, and I look forward to meeting you all in person again on the 29th. We'll be nice and early, opened up, and hopefully fastest triggers on the button to get your tee time on the 29th.
Thanks a lot, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Andrew.